Hello and welcome to the Sunday DNS, the why, what and how of newspaper reading. Today we will discuss the articles displayed on the screen from the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 9th December 2018. So let's start our discussion. This article on page number 12 is related to the recent protests by the farmers. And it highlights the various issues that are being faced by the farmers, and it mainly highlights the distress in the farm sector. Further, it highlights the reasons for increasing farm debt. It also highlights the approach of government in handling this situation. And finally, it has provided what is the policy of the government of India towards it. So this becomes important for us from General Studies paper 3 of the mains examination point of view. Now, if you go through the previous year questions of the mains examination of General Studies paper 3, you will find questions related to the agriculture sector in various forms. For example, this question asks us about the land reforms and the agricultural productivity. Further, this question that was asked in 2014 is related to the agricultural finance. The question that was asked in 2015 is related to the decreasing size of land holdings in India and how does it impact the farmers' productivity. Further, in the year 2016, the question was related to land reforms and agricultural development. There were two questions in the year 2017, and these were related to the impact of subsidies on the cropping pattern and crop diversity and economy of farmers. Further, another question that was asked in 2017 was related to the declining trend in the yield of rice and wheat. So these are various questions that have been asked in the mains examination. So if you look at the points that are being highlighted in this article will be important for us from General Studies paper 3 of the mains examination. And most of the points that are highlighted by this article can be used in answering questions that are related to farm distress. Further, the points that will be mentioned here can also be used in writing various reforms that have been undertaken by the government and a critical analysis of these reforms. So let us try to understand point by point what has been highlighted by this article. Now, while writing the answers in the mains examination, some kind of data can be used in writing such answers. For example, if there is a question related to the farm distress, you can cite various data that has been provided in this article. For example, it provides that the National Crime Records Bureau statistics show that more than 3 lakh farmers have committed suicide. So this is an important fact and can be used in your answers in mains examination. So now let us look at the other data which highlights the farm distress in India. Secondly, you should note that the indebtedness was cited as the reason for 55% of farmers' suicide in 2015. So 55% of the farmers committed suicide in the year 2015 because of indebtedness. Further, 57% of the farmers in Maharashtra are under debt, and this state has seen the highest number of farmers' suicide. Further, the National Sample Survey Organization has provided certain data related to the debt in the farm sector, and it has also highlighted the average debt on farm households in India. So in this regard, it says that more than half of all the farmers are in debt, and each household or each farm household owes an average of 40,000 rupees. So this shows that on an average, every farm household has a debt of around 47,000 rupees. Further, it has been provided that the states like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have more than 90% farmers in debt. And the average debt of households in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana is about rupees 1 lakh. So this state faces the severe problem of indebtedness in farm sector. So these are few points and data which can be highlighted in the answers which are related to farm distress or rural farm distress. Now let us look at the reasons for this increasing debt in the farm sector, which is the primary reason for farmer suicides in India. In this line, the first reason is that there is increasing fragmentation of land, and the average plot sizes are barely more than 1 hectare. Now you should note that due to the increasing fragmentation and the decreasing size of land holdings by a family, such land holdings are not economically viable to feed the mouths of a family. That is why this is an increasing concern and the farmers are indulging in more debt to survive. Further, even for those farmers who have enough land holdings to survive, there is lack of post-production infrastructure. So in this line, you should note that most of the products of the farmers are not protected because of lack of proper supply chain and the cold storages. In this line, the articles which are perishable, for example, vegetables, etc., have to be sold at lower price in the neighboring markets only. Further, there is lack of proper marketing mechanism, and that is why the farmers do not receive remunerative prices for their farm products. Now, in most of the cases, due to the lack of proper supply chain and marketing mechanisms, farmers end up selling their products at a very low price. However, when these products enter the actual market at the retail level, their prices are almost 10 times high at times. So that is why these are few reasons for the increasing debt of farmers, because most of their products are not fetching them good incomes. Now, another reason is that although in the last 2 years there has been record output in most of the crops in India. Now, due to the increased supply, there has been a reduction in the prices of these crops. And this has considerably affected the profitability of farmers. Now, as the farmers are earning less, and due to the increasing input cost for the farmers, the debt of the farmers is increasing. Further, you should note that the input costs have increased considerably. And this is because the input costs like the diesel prices have increased by around 26% this year. Further, the fertilizer costs have increased by about 15%. So due to the increase in price of the inputs in the farming sector, the profitability of farmers has reduced considerably and they are not able to repay their debt. Further, it has been highlighted by the Agriculture Ministry's report to the parliamentary panel that demonetization considerably affected the rural cash economy. And due to demonetization, the farmers' ability to buy seeds and fertilizers, pay off loans, and hiring farm laborers was considerably affected. So, due to the lack of cash in the hands of farmer due to demonetization, various aspects of agriculture were impacted badly. And the same has been highlighted by the report of Agriculture Ministry, which it presented to the parliamentary panel. So, these are some of the reasons for the increasing debt of farmers in India. Now, this article has further highlighted a critical appraisal of the government's approach in handling the farm debt. So, in this regard, the article has highlighted that the Swaminathan Commission had recommended that the minimum support price or the MSP for 23 major crops be set at 1.5 times the cost of production. So, the Commission had recommended that the MSP should be 1.5 times the cost of production. And the government has claimed that it has fulfilled its promises in providing such MSP, that is 1.5 times the cost of production. However, the article highlights that the cost of production which was provided by the Swaminathan Commission was higher as compared to that of the cost of production which has been used by the government in calculating the MSP. So further, this article has highlighted that the cost of production which is used by the Swaminathan Commission was way higher as compared to that which is being used by the Government of India in its calculation of minimum support price. Now here you should note that the government's calculation of the cost of production which is used in the calculation of MSP includes only the actual paid out costs and the imputed cost of family labor. So this actual paid out costs include the cost of seeds, fertilizers, etc. And the imputed cost means the implicit cost which is calculated according to the labor that has been provided by the family. So for example, if there are 4 members in a family, the amount of labor that they put in or the wages which could have been paid out to other laborers is included in the calculation of the cost of production. However, the Swaminathan Commission had provided that the cost of production should also include the implicit cost of capital and the rent of the land. So by this manner, the Commission had highlighted that the cost of production should be higher and the calculation of MSP would come out to be higher in case of Swaminathan Commission's cost of production. So simply the article has highlighted that the cost of production which is used by the Government of India in calculating the MSP is lower as compared to that of Swaminathan Commission's recommendation. And due to the use of such a formula in the calculation of minimum support prices, the farmer incomes have not increased considerably. Further, you should note that the Swaminathan Commission had provided minimum support price for 23 major crops of India. However, in the present case, the government is only providing MSP for wheat, rice and a limited number of pulses and oilseeds. So that is why this is benefiting only a few farmers which are indulged in the farming of wheat, rice, pulses and oilseeds, etc. Now, providing MSP to such limited number of crops has impacted the crop diversification. This is because the farmers don't find the other crops very remunerative or attractive in terms of incomes from these crops. That is why they only prefer those crops on which the government provides MSPs. Further, to reduce the farm debt, the government had provided loan waiver. However, it has been implemented only in few states. Now, in the loan waiver, the major problem that comes out is that there are various small farmers who do not have access to institutional credit. And by institutional credit, you should understand that the credit which has been provided to the farmers through the banking institutions, etc. And most of the small farmers in India rely on money lenders for their short-term debts. Now, as these small farmers have not taken their credit from the institutional credit structures, they are generally left behind during these loan waivers. and they do not get benefit from the loan waiver schemes of government. Further, regarding the implementation of loan waivers, there has been faulty calculations for the farmers at times, and many of the farmers have received amounts as low as rupee 1. So these are the few steps that have been taken by the government of India in handling the farm debt. However, these steps have their own limitations, and much more needs to be done to improve this situation. So this highlights the critical appraisal of the government's approach towards handling the farm debt. And finally, the article has highlighted that a panel has been formed by government for doubling the farmers' income by 2022, and it has come up with a report. However, it has not been finalized till now. Further, the cabinet has approved an agricultural export policy, and it has lifted restrictions on organic and processed food. And this step will diversify the market for the domestic farm produce. And this will further help in doubling the farmers' exports by 2022. Now, after going through some of the points which have been highlighted by the article, you should try and answer this question from your mains examination point of view. And with this, let us move on to the next article. This article on page number 14 is related to the sea kraits, which is a type of snake which is found in the Sea of Andaman. Now, most of the points that are given in this article are not very important for us from exam point of view. However, we'll look at the conservation status of the sea kraits and where it has been listed in the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So these aspects become important for us from preliminary examination point of view under the topic General Issues on Biodiversity. So regarding the locations where these sea kraits are found, you should note that these are found in the tropical Indo-Pacific oceanic waters. So this means that they are found in the tropical areas in the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. Further, you should note that they spend most of their time underwater, and they spend this time underwater in order to hunt for their survival. However, in order to digest, rest and reproduce, they return to the land. So this is one of the characteristics of the sea kraits. Now, what is important for us from exam point of view is the conservation status of these sea kraits. So it has been categorized as least concerned as per the IUCN's Red List. Further, it is protected in the Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So the three important information for us from the preliminary examination point of view are that where are these sea kraits found first. Secondly, what is the conservation status of sea kraits in the IUCN's Red List? So it is least concerned as per the IUCN's Red List. And the third important information from the preliminary examination point of view is that it is protected in the Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Now, this species of the sea snake is coming under threat due to various activities like mining and tourism. So it is being demanded by the conservationists that such activities like mining and tourism should be banned in the areas where sea kraits are found. Now, after going through these points, you should try and answer this question from your preliminary examination point of view. And the answer for this question will be displayed in 5 seconds. So the question states that with reference to sea kraits, consider the following statement. The first statement reads that it is found in the tropical waters of all the oceans. Now you should notice such words in the questions. So here we find that it is not found in all the oceans, but it is found only in the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. The second statement further reads that they are listed as critically endangered in the IUCN's Red List, which is a wrong statement. This is because they are listed as least concerned in the IUCN's Red List. So the correct answer in this case is D, that is neither the statement 1 nor the statement 2 are correct. And with this, let us move on to the next article. The focus of this article on page number 9 is towards the probable water crisis in Gujarat due to deficit monsoon. This article further states that water reservoirs in many parts of Gujarat have started drying up. Further, the problem is being aggravated because of deficit monsoon this year. So this further states that the only option for these areas is to rely on the Narmada project. So in this article, we will try to understand some facts that are related to the Narmada project and also related to the Narmada river, which are important for us from preliminary examination point of view under the topic Indian geography. Now, as you can see in this map, parts of Kutch, Saurashtra and North Gujarat are facing water crisis this year. And this water crisis is visible due to the drying up of various water reservoirs like dams, etc. Further, this region has faced deficit monsoon this year. So as a result, it has been highlighted that the only option for this region is to rely on the Narmada project. Now, this Narmada project is also known as the Sardar Sarovar project. and it was recently inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister. Now, the important fact for us from preliminary examination point of view is that this Narmada project covers 4 major states of India, and these include Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and Rajasthan. Now, although the river Narmada does not pass through the states of Maharashtra and Rajasthan, yet the Narmada project or the Sardar Sarovar project is aimed at benefiting Maharashtra and Rajasthan as well. Another important point to be noted is that this dam will be the third highest concrete dam in India. And you should note that the highest concrete dam in India is the Bhakra Nangal Dam in Punjab. Now, regarding the Narmada river, you should note that it is also called as Riva. Further, this river originates in the Amarkantak Plateau in Madhya Pradesh. And you can see in the map here that it originates in the Amarkantak Plateau from here. Further, this river drains into Gulf of Khambat in the Arabian Sea. And you can see in the map here that this is the Gulf of Khambat and this is the Gulf of Kutch. So the Narmada river drains into Gulf of Khambat. Another point here to be noted is that the Tapi river also drains into the Gulf of Khambat. Now, an important fact to be noted regarding the Narmada river is that it flows from east to west, as can be seen in this map here, that it flows from east to west. However, all the major rivers of peninsular India flow from west to east. For example, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, etc. So these are 2 exceptions. So in this regard, in the map, you should also note that the other west flowing rivers are the Mahi, Sabarmati, etc. Also, the Luni river, which is one of the largest rivers of Rajasthan, flows from east to west. Further, you should note that the Narmada flows in a rift valley and it flows between the Satpura and Vindhya ranges in the central India. So you should note in the map that it flows between Satpura and the Vindhyas. And regarding the rift valleys, you should note that these are valleys which are created due to faulting or tectonic activities. So these are few important points from your preliminary examination point of view, and questions can be asked based on these facts. Now, after going through this article, you should try and answer this question from your preliminary examination point of view. And the answer for this question will be displayed in next 5 seconds. So if you notice these statements, the first statement is incorrect because the project passes through 4 states. And they are Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Maharashtra. Further, the second statement reads that river Narmada flows in a valley which is created by fluvial action. This statement is also incorrect because Narmada river flows through a rift valley which has been created by tectonic action. The third statement reads that Narmada river drains into Gulf of Khambat, which is a correct statement. Hence, the correct answer that comes out is C, that is 3 only. And with this, let us move on to the next article. This article on page number 14 is related to the increased drugs discharge in the river Yamuna and its impact on aquatic life and human beings. So this will form a part of the preliminary examination syllabus under the topic General Issues on Environment and Biodiversity. So let us try to understand the key points that have been highlighted by this article. So this article highlights a report which has been published in the Ecotoxicology and Environment Safety. And this report states that the drugs that end up in the river Yamuna due to the domestic sewage, it can have adverse impact on the aquatic life and the human beings. The study has found that 2 important drugs like the ibuprofen and paracetamol have been found in high concentration in the river Yamuna. Further, the study highlights that increase in ibuprofen exposure leads to increase in the algae in water. And this increase in algae is sometimes toxic to the aquatic life in the river. Further, due to the increase in concentration of ibuprofen and paracetamol and various antibiotics, it has been found that there is potential fear of development of microbes which are drug resistant to these antibiotics. So these are few important aspects that have been highlighted by this report. Now, how these drugs find their way into the river? So first is that it is because of overuse of antibiotics by human beings. And most of these antibiotics are excreted and they end up in the aquatic system. Further, they end up in the river because of overuse in the veterinary sector. Further, the drugs contamination has been due to pharmaceutical and hospital discharges in the rivers. Now, this has raised major concerns with respect to pharmaceutical residues in the aquatic life. So the first is that due to the increased discharge of antibiotics in the rivers, it is leading to emergence of multi-drug resistant bacteria. And regarding multi-drug resistant bacteria, you should understand that These are those bacteria which have developed resistance to the antibiotics like penicillin, etc. And these bacteria which are found in water bodies have been found to be resistant to antibiotics like penicillin, cephalosporin, etc. So here you should understand that due to the development of such bacteria which are resistant to these common antibiotics, the patients which suffer from various diseases which are caused by these bacteria need to be treated with higher dosed antibiotics. And further, due to the impact of such drugs in the rivers, it has led to sex changes in fish and amphibians like frogs, etc. So these are few negative aspects of the discharge of drugs in river water, which have been highlighted by this article. Now, after going through this article, you should try and answer this question from your preliminary examination point of view. And the answer for this question will be displayed in 5 seconds. So due to the increased discharge of pharmaceutical drugs in rivers, there are chances of increase in multi-drug resistant bacteria. So the correct answer is C. And with this, let us move on to the next article. This news snippet on page number 8 is related to an exercise of the Indian Air Force. Now this is the first of its kind exercise and the name of this exercise is Crossbow 18. So in this, the name of this exercise is important for us from exam point of view. So this will form a part of the preliminary examination under the topic Current Events of National Importance. Now another important fact related to this Crossbow 18 exercise is that it was related to the firing and testing of surface to air missiles. So successful firing and testing of surface to air missiles Akash, Spider, OSA AKM and IGLA has been conducted by the Indian Air Force in this exercise. Now from exam point of view, 2 points are important. First is the name of this exercise and what is it related to. So it is related to the testing of surface to air missiles. Now let us understand some points related to the Akash missile. For other missiles, you can go through the PDF that has been provided in the link below. So regarding the Akash missile, you should note that it is a medium range surface to air missile. Further, it has been built by DRDO or the Defense Research and Development Organization, which is owned by the Indian government. And this missile was developed under the Integrated Guided Missile Development System or the IGMDP. Now the other missiles which were developed under this Integrated Guided Missile Development Programs are the Nag, Agni, Trishul and the Prithvi Ballistic Missile. So these are key aspects of the IGMDP which are important for us from exam point of view. Now after going through these points, you should try and answer this question from your preliminary examination point of view. And the answer for this question will be displayed in the next 5 seconds. So the correct answer in this case is B, that is only Trishul and Prithvi have been developed under the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program and not the BrahMos. With this, let us move on to the next article. This article on page number 12 is related to the protests that are going on in the France. And these protests are popularly being known as the Yellow Vest protests. So this becomes important for us from preliminary examination point of view under the topic Events of International Importance. Now regarding the Yellow Vest protests, you should note that France is facing its worst civil unrest in last 50 years. Further, these protests started because of new policy of fuel hike by the government in France. However, the protests have quickly spread via social media. Now, although the protests started against the new policy of fuel tax hike, people have now come out and are openly expressing their dissatisfaction with the economic policies of the current government in France. Now, let us understand what does the term Yellow Vest signify in these protests. Now, this movement that is taking place in France is named as the Yellow Vest protests. And it takes its name from the high visibility jackets that the protesters have adopted as a symbol of their complaint. As you can see in this picture, the protesters are wearing yellow colored jackets. So that is why this movement has been named as the Yellow Vest movement. Now why this becomes important for us from exam point of view. Now you can see that in the year 2014 there was a question related to the term Arab Spring. And the question asked, recently a series of uprisings of people referred to as Arab Spring originally started from. So the correct answer in this case was D, that is Tunisia. So the uprising of the people which is named as Arab Spring had started in Tunisia. So similarly, the name of this movement, which is known as the Yellow Vest protest, and the country in which it has started is important for us from exam point of view. With this, we have come to the end of this part of Sunday's DNS. The other part has been discussed by Navid sir. And now let us move on to the question for the day.